The National Assembly is currently holding a debate to commemorate Freedom Day under the theme Consolidating Our Democratic Gains by giving enhanced meaning to our constitutional rights through the building of a more equitable society. Let's take you live there.
Condolences to the Gandhi family, and may Hilary's soul rest in perfect and eternal peace. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The ANC.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. The ANC strongly condemns the senseless killing of 3 sisters and injury of 2 children in their home in Umlazi, the L section on Wednesday, the 27th of April. It is very hard to comprehend why that innocent and defenseless women can be brutally killed like this. Over the past years, Chair, our country has been deeply traumatized by acts of extreme violence perpetrated by men against women and children. We view this violence on women of our country as an assault on the foundation of our democracy. We hope the police will prioritize this case and leave no stone unturned in finding the perpetrators so that he can face the full might of the law. We call on community members to share information with the police in order to effect arrests. We wish to convey our heartfelt condolences to the family of the deceased sisters and wishes the injured children speedy recovery. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The IFP.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chairperson. House Chairperson, more than a decade ago, the integrity of the South African passport came under the spotlight when the UK introduced a strict passport regime for South Africans seeking to enter the UK. At the time, the UK government said, and I quote, "There are concerns that South African passports are available to people who are not entitled to them," end quote. Fast forward 12 years later to Friday, 25 March 22, and a Pakistani national, a kingpin of a syndicate producing fake South African passports along with his wife and 29 others were arrested. It is now emerged that this criminal network was operated from the Department of Home Affairs and it spanned 7 provinces. While the IFP welcomes the arrests and the work that Minister Motsoaledi has done in this regard, the reality is that the revelation of the work of this syndicate comes at a time when our government already presides over a full-scale immigration crisis. We've got non-existent borders, the current manual asylum seeker system has collapsed, corruption within the department is endemic, international criminal syndicates have infiltrated South Africa, many non-citizens enter South Africa never to leave again. It is the IFP's view that this government must table before the nation and to this House, as a matter of urgency, a plan to fix our immigration crisis, to ease the tensions that have arisen in our communities of late, and to address the very legitimate concerns South Africans are raising around the failures of this government's immigration system. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The PAC.
On Saturday, PAC mourners in West Rand and were shot at by the South African Police Service. And one Colonel Ndumbini ordered that we must be shot and he is going to account. And we want the Minister of Police to take action against this colonel because he has been doing this for the 3rd time before we regard SAPS as the enemies of PAC members. Thank you.
EFF Plus.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. Considerations of Freedom Plus. Honourable House Chair, the Norwich Premier highlighted the backlog of road infrastructure in the province. He stated that the total infrastructure is worth 92.5 billion rand, but the budget for road infrastructure maintenance over the last 3 years averaged 1.4 billion rand per year. The province underspent on maintenance budget and only spent an average of 1 billion rand per year over the last 3 years. The Norwich province did 1.3% of their asset value for maintenance, and that against the norm of 8%. Therefore, a shortage of 6.2 billion rand per year, and then they don't even spend their budget adequately. The Minister Mulula visited Kwasi's municipality and made a promise to the people that he will return in 1 month, and there must be a visible progress on the repair of the road. There is little progress made on the road, but rather mixed, and no sign of follow-up visit from the Minister. The public is disappointed in the minister for not keeping his word. A further disappointment is that Sanral is given a budget of 45 million rand for the whole of the M12 running through J. Marks, Matasana and the Hills. The allocated budget is not enough for sustainable solution for the rehabilitated national road and municipal area, and that is due to a lack of maintenance by ANC government over decades. It is time for action, and we call on the minister to honour his promise and see that a sustainable solution with the necessary budget is put in place for the M12 road infrastructure. We call on the minister for in-depth investigation on the turnaround of the road infrastructure decay in the northwest, not empty promises and statements. I asked the minister to honour the fact that he said he will make a return visit to West Hills, and when he does, I will meet him there. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
The ANC.
Thank you, House Chair. The recent killing of 2 security guards in Joburg by alleged cable thieves heavily armed with AK-47 is strongly condemned. The affected guards are contracted by City of Joburg to protect electrical infrastructure and services in the city. They work with city technicians every day to ensure residents have uninterrupted power. The theft of cable is of great concern, and it occurs on a daily basis, not only in Joburg but countrywide. Cable thieves are getting more organized and dangerous, putting lives at risk and undermining government's effort to provide service delivery and revive the economy. The ANC calls for harsher sentences for destruction of essential infrastructure and more stringent bail conditions for perpetrators. I thank you.
The ACDP.
Honourable House Chair, we were informed that we do not have an opportunity to make a declaration today.
You always have an opportunity to make a statement.
A member statement, sorry.
The ANC.
Thank you, Chair. The ANC welcomes the newly manufactured Isuzu D-Max buggy in Nelson Mandela Bay, Eastern Cape recently. The launch is a result of an investment commitment by Japan's Isuzu Motor Limited, which forms part of the investment drive started by President Ramaphosa in 2018. The plant will provide over 1 million jobs, over 1,000 jobs, and indirectly employ 24,000 people, contributing to community upliftment. The fact that the bag is being manufactured in South Africa is more than a matter of pride. It is a welcome contribution to the government's efforts to significantly expand local production as we work to rebuild our economy and create jobs. The automotive industry is one of the most economic important sector. It is a significant source of employment and small business development in Eastern Cape, particularly Tebeka. Thank you, Siyabonga.
The Democratic Alliance. The DA. Is there a statement from the DA? Please proceed.
House Chair, whether Busi Mavuso's utterances in Scopa were made in the appropriate forum is moot. What it did, however, is to place on record what is on the lips of every South African, that successive ANC governments have been and are responsible for the mess we find ourselves in at Eskom, and there's no getting away from that. Now, Volume 4 of the Zondo report has named and shamed ANC deployees, members, acolytes and ministers. Where is the accountability? Where are the prosecutions? Almost 1,500 people have been implicated, but not one has been prosecuted. National Treasury has emerged as the sole government entity with some honour. What is worrying, though, is that many of those currently in government who were complicit through acts of commission or omission are now spinning a yarn that clothes them as latter-day saviours. How, I ask you, can those who either knew and kept quiet or were incompetent, that they didn't know what was going on under their noses, can be trusted to deliver the requisite transparency, accountability, consequences and action? Our country has been hobbled economically and morally by the culpable collective that is the ANC, and they must be held to account. Only then will the full extent of the crimes be exposed and dealt with. Instead, we have the new SAA appointment of John Lamola as CEO, a man who began Denel Aviation's demise and was implicated in the Gupta leaks as being their preferred candidate for the board of AXA. I'm afraid it's more of the same, and this country has had enough, as 2024 will show. Best you take note.
The EFF.
Thank you, House Chair. Recently, the Justice and Correctional Services Portfolio Committee went on an oversight visit to the Eastern Cape and across the Eastern Cape. What struck me the most was the atrocious condition of the Master's office in Mthatha. We are dealing with wills, deceased estates, death, pain, and all manner of emotional conditions. Yet when we arrived, there was no electricity. Some people had to be turned back and away for days on end. People traveling hours and hours away just to be turned away because the system simply does not work without electricity. It left a bitter taste in my mouth, because what about the dignity of loved ones and their family? Why has the Department of Justice and Correctional Services not prioritized the vast provinces such as the Eastern Cape in terms of its infrastructure? Black mothers and fathers are frustrated by loss, turned away without clear answers as to when they will find assistance. Why is Public Works okay with paying 100,000 rand in rent for a building that doesn't even have proper ventilation? A building without a generator, no access to any facilities for disabled people. Why is the government in this country fine with not restoring dignity to our people? The Department of Justice and Correctional Services truly needs to take itself seriously and not outsource its powers to Public Works, who clearly demonstrate that they don't know what their mandate is. Thank you.
The ANC.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. The ANC is calling for an urgent action to solve the crisis of foot and mouth disease outbreak involving farms and communal areas. 5 out of 9 provinces are affected by this outbreak, which are Free State, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, Northwest, and Gauteng. The disease presents with sores in the mouth and in between the digits of hooves, causing them to be depressed, reluctant to eat, and lame. It attacks domesticated animals such as cattle, pigs, sheep, and goats. As part of government intervention, all affected farms, dips, tanks, and other premises in the 5 affected provinces were placed under quarantine, and no clove-hoofed animals are allowed to move from these locations. The ANC urges all farmers to exercise caution and be vigilant for signs of symptoms on their livestock. We call on citizens of South Africa to comply with the government's call and to stop the illegal movement of animals out of the affected areas. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you. Al-Jamaa.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Muslims have completed their fasting in the month of Ramadan yesterday. The moon was sighted with the naked eye, as professed in the Holy Quran. Today is Eid al-Fitr, the day in which we receive the divine reward and the Almighty's grace after the month of Ramadan. The day of Eid al-Fitr is a celebration to mark the end of Ramadan and the spiritual blessings. Former President Nelson Mandela considered Eid as a celebration for all South Africans, and his wish was that Eid should be a national public holiday. There are provisions to swap public holidays, and employers should accommodate their Muslim employees to take off this day without fear of victimization and deduction from salary. Inmates in South African correctional centers are now also not left out from celebrating Eid al-Fitr. Al-Jamaa applauds the Department of Correctional Services for the implementation of a policy on guidelines to allow spiritual leaders to take traditional food to prisons on the days of both Eids. Al-Jamaa says thank you to the government for this gesture of Ubuntu. Al-Jamaa wishes everyone a joyous Eid al-Fitr. Eid Mubarak.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The ANC.
Thanks, House Chair. The partnership of KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Government and the Elan Foundation's Shift Africa in a multi-billion rand development will create employment opportunity for 100,000 young people. The Elan Foundation is the non-profit organization of the property and development company, Elan Property Group. It was formed in 2019 to improve the lives of community in which the company operates. The recent job opportunities are as a result of a property group's 16 billion Blightedale coastal estate resort development in the Ilembe district. The estate will include schools, shopping center, a retirement village, a beach resort hotel, upmarket housing and apartments. The project will also include the construction of 3,000 low-income social housing units. It will help to reduce the unemployment and provide skills training, especially for youth and women. This will yield more business opportunities for small, medium, and micro enterprises. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The DA.
Honourable Chairperson, on Sunday we celebrated Workers' Day, but in truth there is nothing to celebrate. South Africa is not a nation of workers. We are a nation of the workless. We have the highest unemployment rate in the world, 35.3% on the strict definition, or 46.2% if you include people who have been looking out for work. 12 million South Africans don't have a job. Youth unemployment is catastrophic and rising. Many of those lucky enough to have a job are angry and resentful. The cost of living has gone up, but their incomes have remained static. We saw this frustration boil over on Sunday when President Cyril Ramaphosa was forced to abandon his Workers' Day speech in Rustenburg. The President was eventually taken away in a plea signal. This humiliating retreat shows that the ANC's own alliance partner, Consolidating, is fed up with it. Years of corruption and economic mismanagement have come back to bite the ruling party. But the anger of the employed is nothing compared to the anger of the unemployed. We need to address our growing unemployment crisis as a matter of urgency. That is why the DA says we must revisit our labour laws, free up the private sector to create jobs, and stop government driving small business in red tape.
Thank you. The ANC.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Animal infrastructure is one of the key factors of the National Agriculture and Agro-Processing Master Plan. Creating an enabling environment for farming will not only contribute to improve health of the animals, but also improve food security and create more jobs. We are therefore encouraged with the 11 animal handling facilities, which were handed over to farming communities across the Bojanala district by the Northwest Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. The facilities are worth 5.9 million, and they will include holding pens, crash pens, animal pest control sprayers. A borehole has also been drilled at the location of each of the facilities to improve and provide water for the farmers. These facilities will make the processes of artificial insemination, castration, vaccination, dehorning, and the weighing of large and small livestock easier. These are all necessary resources that assist farmers with many challenges and provide easier management of the animals. We hope that these interventions will result in positive impact, and we look forward to this initiative being rolled out to other districts. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, earlier the ACDP indicated that they were not aware that they have an opportunity for a statement. The Honourable Tring came to explain the situation to me, and I've granted now the opportunity to the Honourable Swart, who's on the virtual platform, to make that statement. The Honourable Swart.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, the ACDP is deeply concerned about the state of our municipalities. There can be no doubt that the majority of municipalities are in a dysfunctional state due to poor governance, financial mismanagement, and insufficient capacity. The number of municipalities in financial distress, according to the 30 indicators used by the National Treasury, has risen from an already high 86 in 2013-14 to an unacceptable 175 in 2019-20, with the statement 120 municipalities having passed unfunded budgets. This has resulted in poor service delivery, resulted in numerous service delivery protests, and is a major concern to the SADP. A National Treasury review has identified deficiencies in capacity, especially among senior municipal executives and technical managers responsible for advising political office bearers as a major contributor to poor performance. The ACDP calls on Parliament, on the Content Committee, as well as National Treasury and other role players to ensure that the appalling state of our municipalities is addressed and improved, and as this is where service delivery takes place. I thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, that concludes member statements. Are there any ministerial responses? The Honourable Minister of Social Development.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Just for start is to really pass our condolences to the family of Gadi and the EFF in general, because we know that they will be there for him. This for us, Honourable Chair, continues to raise the problem of gender-based violence in particular and violence in South Africa as a whole. But it also calls upon us, men and women, members of parliament and members of our communities in general, to really put aside all forms of political challenges and focus on this problem, because whether we like it or not, it is something that shames all of us in general as South Africans. It doesn't point a finger to any political organization. So it's our plea from the Department of Social Development, can we unite against this issue? The second issue, Chairperson, which was raised by Honourable Macpherson, is around the issue of KwaZulu-Natal, which, by the way, we must remember that it's not only KwaZulu-Natal. Eastern Cape was also affected. Some parts of the Northern Cape, Northwest have also been affected. And I do want to say to Honourable Member, if you want us to give the report that we have of what we have really done on the ground, please, you feel free to do so. We've made a presentation to the Portfolio Committee of what we have done as a Department of Social Development alone, but I can tell you the entire government, in the three spheres of government, we've been on the ground, we've been doing the best we can. But in closing, I also want to pass the message, Chairperson, that constructive criticism is useful for South Africa, because sometimes we miss the point of scoring points here and forgetting about the fact that we need to help our communities. This issue of climate change and the manner in which our people are building and the manner in which our people are living, it is our responsibility collectively as South Africans to raise this issue to them, to say, let us unite. It's one thing to be opposition. I don't have a problem with opposition. We fought for this opposition to be here. Yes, as a matter of fact, we did. When we wrote the Constitution, we made sure that there is multi-party democracy in South Africa, but not for destruction, but for construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I now recognize on the virtual platform the Honourable Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, the Honourable Creasy.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair. Allow me this afternoon to highlight an example of community empowerment and climate adaptation good practice in the face of the climate change-induced flooding that took place in KwaZulu-Natal a few weeks ago. The Enviro Champs of the Quarry Road West informal settlement, led by, amongst others, Mrs. Tembisa Nomlala, were able to prevent not a single member of their community from drowning when 450 homes were swept away on the night of the 11th of April. Their partnership with the eThekwini municipality and the University of KZN has put in place an ecosystem restoration project in the Palmet catchment area, a flood early warning system, and an effective community evacuation process, all of which led to this remarkable achievement of preventing deaths when this tragedy occurred. As we adapt to the realities of climate change, myself and my counterpart in KZN will be supporting this significant project to expand it into all catchment areas in the city of eThekwini, so that we empower communities to look after themselves in the face of climate change. We build partnerships between government and communities, and we also set about the urgent and important task of restoring ecosystem services in those catchments that are now severely vulnerable to flooding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The Honourable Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. I also want to pass my condolences to the Gadi family and may his daughter's soul rest in peace. Honourable House Chairperson, just on the disaster in KZN, as the Parliament, we submit a weekly report to the National Disaster Management Centre in Pretoria, but just briefly, from Public Works and Infrastructure, 49 state-owned buildings were damaged. We have put together 108 internal and external built environment professionals to help us with the assessment, and the process for restoration has started. Also, we have released 248 parcels of land for resettlements of communities from low-lying flood areas, and the province of KZN also released 193 land parcels. Honourable Chairperson, we're also working on the rural bridges. We have targeted 18 rural bridges for this financial year. We've identified another 6 that will be funded by the province of KZN. But all in all, we received another 28 bridges from municipalities that need to be repaired. I will be visiting KZN again on Thursday to hand over 3 of the bridges, but we are working with the Department of Defence as fast as we can to restore those rural bridges to allow the communities access to the various villages. But the report was submitted also this morning to the Portfolio Committee of Public Works and Infrastructure. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The Honourable Minister of Public Enterprises.
Good afternoon, Chair, and thank you very much. Let me, in the first instance, greet all of our Muslim brothers and sisters, Eid al-Fitr, and I hope they have a very good day with their families. Secondly, my condolences to the Guardian family on this terrible loss that they've actually experienced. And thirdly, Chairperson, with quick reference to the comments from the Honourable Member from the DA, we as a department, together with Transnet, have also been involved from day one in rehabilitating the harbour, making sure that in a record time the Bayhead Road is repaired, and it was an extensive repair, and it was done with great deal of efficiency between Transnet and the private sector company. There's huge damage that has been examined, evaluated, and currently there are bids out to make sure that we reconstruct 11 areas between eThekwini and Cato Ridge that have been seriously damaged by the rain, and where the railway lines are hanging, so to speak, without any foundation. And there's been frequent interaction with the Premier and other stakeholders, as Mr. Zulu pointed out as well. And all of us would be totally opposed to any kind of corruption or over-expenditure that is involved in this process. As far as Honourable Kachaya is concerned, I think he's got some facts wrong about Mr. Lamola, or Professor Lamola. If he has any other information, he should let me know. I'm informed that his name does not appear in the Front of Commission reports, and there's no doubt that we agree with him that now is the time for prosecution, now is the time for orange overalls, and if there's one lesson to be learned, it is the huge amount of damage that has been calls to institutions like Eskom and Transnet that we are still in the process of recovering from. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The Honourable Deputy Minister of Police.
Thank you, Chair. My camera won't be on because of the problem of connectivity where I am, Chairperson. Good afternoon to you and to members of Parliament, both on virtual and those that are physically in Cape Town. We want to talk to the issue of police becoming an enemy of the people as raised by honourable members from the PAC. Our view and attitude has always been that we should support the collaboration between communities and police officers. And in this case where an incident is mentioned of police having shot at protesters, we will definitely take this matter up and ensure that police don't act in a manner that is not in accordance with what is expected of them. We will definitely ensure that this is processed and dealt with accordingly so that there is a harmonious relationship between our police officers and communities, because our work as the South African Police Service will never be effective unless we work in collaboration with our communities and our people. Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Now I now recognize the Honourable Deputy Minister of Home Affairs.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. We welcome the statement that's been made by the Honourable Nizel on issues pertaining to border management and border security. We want to make it very clear that we will not back down in terms of arresting those who are doing wrong things within our border environment, whether within the country or intending to enter the country illegally. We will continue to effect arrest on all those who are doing wrong things, whether they are South Africans or they are illegal foreign nationals or even legal foreign nationals. We will continue with our work of operationalizing the BMA in order to make sure that we curtail the openness of our borders, to make sure that they do not become porous. We are now in the process of getting more than 200 border management officers who will be mending our borders. We will also continue to do the regular visits as we have been doing in Masero as well as Great Bridge, where we are also able to improve our environment and arrest all those that are doing wrong things. We remain committed to make sure that we guard the sovereign integrity of our country and the integrity of our border environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Honourable members, that concludes ministerial responses. The Secretary will read the first order of the day.
Consideration of Local Government Municipal Systems Amendment Bill and of report of the Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs on amendments proposed by the National Council of Provinces.
I now recognize the Honourable Kasa, who will introduce the report.
Thanks, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Ministers who might be around, Honourable Members. The Local Government Municipal Systems Amendment Bill has finally gone through both Houses of Parliament following rigorous public participation processes, as prescribed in terms of Section 76 of the Constitution and as ordered by the Constitutional Court judgment of 8 March 2019. This is a great milestone in terms of the recovery of the gains that have been lost through the invalidation of the Municipal Systems Amendment Act of 2011 by the court. The court judgment was an opportune moment in terms of presenting an opportunity for both Houses of Parliament not only to comply with the court directive of taking the bill as a Section 76, but also to introduce it even more far-reaching reforms than those contemplated in the Amendment Act of 2011. to professionalize and depoliticize local government administration, it is necessary that all municipal staff, not just municipal managers and those managers reporting directly to them, are prohibited from holding political office while in the employ of the municipality. This will go a long way in addressing the very distinction between political leadership and administration that has tended to characterize local government. Some municipal labor bodies will most likely condemn this provision.
All right. And so we come out of that debate around Freedom Day in South Africa, all political parties represented in Parliament raising issues and making statements on things that they think are important, which include foot and mouth disease, the passing of Hilary Gardie, as well as infrastructure challenges. And ministers there also responding and speaking and saying, Minister Lindiwe Zulu, saying that the importance of a multi-party democracy is that the kind of construction that they should be, the kind of debate that should be there should be constructive, not destructive.